All right, we're here at the Sewanee Festival of Books in the Atlanta area with long-time and well-known Georgia-based novelist Terry Kay. Terry's about to come out with his 11th novel. He's had 3 made into movies. So Terry, tell us a little bit about your body of work, how you tried to go about things.
Well, actually, I think the first place I should start is that the fact that I'm an accidental writer. It is not something I ever really wanted to do. I got into it because I got into journalism accidentally at a very young age. And one job led to another job, and one opportunity led to another opportunity until I was almost forced to go into writing of fiction by my friend Pat Conroy. And after that, I really had no interest in doing it at all. But after doing 2 or 3 books, I realized, hey, this is fun. This is a nice way to not necessarily make a living, for very few people make a living writing fiction. But it was a nice opportunity to say I've got this profession. Even though I had another job at the same time, I always thought of writing as my profession and the other job as my avocation. The body of work, I'm not a genre writer. I write whatever interests me, primarily not because of the story, because of the character. If the character is interesting, I can find a story. So everything I write is really different. I've written some very gentle stuff, and I've written some things that a lot of people were stunned at the violence that's in it. But to me, that's what the world's about. There's gentle stories and violent stories and melancholy stories and all different sorts of opportunities to examine what we, I guess, as a cliche, call the human experience.
All right, Terry, as you know, the internet has changed your old profession, newspapering. It's changed many professions. How has it changed novel writing, and where do you see your writing going in the future because of it?
Well, I think at my age I don't worry too much about it. I may have 2 or 3 more books that I hope to get published before I completely give it up and go fishing or doing something like that. But there's no question that the internet, well, actually electronic publishing is changing, has changed, and will further change what the publishing industry has been. I think within 10 years, almost everything that's presented to the public in fiction or non-fiction or classroom, a class book or things like that, will be done electronically. That's why the Kindle and the Sony machine and all those others are so popular. Now, people my age, we don't particularly care for it because we like the feel and the scent of a book. But young people, they're used to that. They're used to texting. They're used to the electronic world. And I think that's where it's going to go.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
That wrestling was real, but the moon landing was faked. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. This is my crazy aunt. You might be a cracker queen if you have ever worn a tube top to a funeral, Jesus. I hate that, but when somebody counseled her from the family on the inappropriateness of her attire at the funeral, she says, "What, it's black, ain't it?" Y'all, this is what my mama did to me. You might be a cracker queen if you sent your 6-year-old to the store for cigarettes and lotto tickets. You might be a cracker queen, this is mama, if you have given illegal ammo as a stocking stuffer or a baby shower gift. I think that mamas are the reason that Southern literature actually exists. What do y'all think? I think it's mamas that make us have to.
Because I had no idea I would ever do fiction. I want to tell you why the first story that was sort of fiction came about. My friend Pat Conroy decided that I ought to write fiction. He pushed and he pushed and he pushed, trying to get me to do it. And I kept refusing. I said, no, I didn't want to do it, didn't want to do it, didn't want to do it. And there was a man who was the editor of a magazine called Georgia Magazine at the time, Jim Townsend. The Townsend Literary Award is named for him. Jim also was pushing me to write. I was doing some movie essays for him, but he wanted me to write what he called a story. And I kept asking him, what do you mean by story? And what I kept getting was, well, you know, a story. But he never explained it to me at all. And one day, simply to get him off my back, I said, Jim, I will write a story if you'll let me write something that's half truth and half fiction. He said, I don't care what it is, write it. So that afternoon I sat down and I wrote a story called I Was a Teenage Quarterback, or the Hoodoo Voodoo on Hut Hut. Now, this was based on my years as a football player for Royston High School, which was a Class C school. We had one coach for every sport, football, baseball, basketball, and we weren't very good. Admittedly, we weren't, but we didn't play football in those schools in those days to win. We played football to impress girls, and I find that a far more noble reason than trying to win a championship. But so I wrote this story about playing football there, and I'll give you one little anecdote of it. We were playing in South Georgia one night, and I was on the field. In those days, we didn't have many, kids that would go out for football, so we had to play both ways, offense and defense. And I was on the field one night, and the coach sent in a young man to take my place, and I sent him back off the field. And the coach sent him in on the next play, and I sent him back off the field the second time. Third play, I sent him back off the third time. On the fourth time, he came out and he said to me, Terry, you better get off the field. The coach is going to kill you. And I looked over, and he was standing there swinging the water bucket, foaming at the mouth, his eyes rolling. Well, I should tell you, he had come back from World War II shell shock. And he was, let me describe it this way, true story. He was committed to an institution the year after I graduated. So, that's what we were dealing with. So I ran off the field, and he grabbed me by the shoulder pads and picked me up and started shaking me, and he said, when I send in for you to punt the ball, punt the ball. I said, Coach, we can't punt the ball. And he said, why not? I said, we don't have it. We're on defense. His eyes rolled, he foamed at the mouth a little bit, and he said, when you get it, punt it. And this is what that story was about. And